Ryan had always known that space exploration was full of surprises, but nothing could prepare him for this. The frozen planet of Zintarnine was a beautiful but dangerous place. Ryan had been sent with a team of scientists and engineers to study the planet's climate. They expected snowstorms, of course, but nothing like this. The storm hit without warning, and now he was stuck on this icy world with Vera, an alien from the native species, the Zintarans. Vera was tall and slender, with skin that shimmered like polished stone, and her dark hair was braided down her back. She had been friendly since Ryan's arrival, but he couldn't shake the feeling that there was a wall between them, something unspoken that he didn't understand. Despite being part of the joint mission between humans and Zintarans, they hadn't spent much time together. He didn't know much about her other than the fact that she was skilled in survival tactics. That skill would be tested now. The wind howled outside the small shelter they had set up, a tent made of reinforced material that had been designed to protect against the harsh elements. Inside, the temperature was only a little better, but it was still freezing. Ryan huddled in his thick jacket, wishing for warmth that wouldn't come. Vera was sitting across from him, her eyes focused on the small heater that wasn't doing much to help. So what now? Trying to sound calm despite his growing frustration. Vera glanced up at him, her expression unreadable. Wait, the storm will pass in a few hours. A few hours? We'll freeze before that, Ryan muttered, looking out through the tent flap. He could barely see anything through the thick layer of snow and ice. I've lived in much worse conditions, Vera said, her voice steady. It's not the cold that will kill us. It's the lack of food. Ryan sighed. Great. So we're stuck here until the storm clears. Nothing to eat. It's not ideal, but we've prepared for emergencies, Vera replied, unzipping a small bag at her side. She pulled out a packet of food and tossed it to Ryan. Here, it's not much, but it will keep us alive. Ryan caught the packet and glanced at it. He didn't recognize the writing on it, but he didn't care. Tore it open and ate the contents without asking questions. It wasn't the best meal he'd ever had, but it would do for now. As they ate in silence, Ryan noticed how close they were. The space inside the tent wasn't large, and their bodies were nearly touching. He shifted uncomfortably, unsure of what to say. He didn't know much about Vera other than her expertise and her stoic demeanor. He couldn't help but feel a sense of tension whenever she was near. Something about her presence made him uneasy. Even though she had been nothing but kind to him, Vera, on the other hand, seemed completely at ease. She sat there, her posture relaxed, her calmness almost infuriating to Ryan. He had never been good at sitting still in uncomfortable situations. He kept thinking about the cold, the storm, and the fact that they were stuck here together with no clear plan of escape. The storm will pass soon, Vera said again, breaking the silence. We just need to stay warm. Right, Ryan said, his voice tinged with doubt. And if it doesn't, we'll figure something out, she replied confidently. Ryan looked at her, studying her features. There was something about her that was different from anyone he'd ever met. It wasn't just her alien appearance. It was something deeper. Her eyes seemed to look right through him, as if she could read his thoughts, made him feel exposed, vulnerable, and he hated it. Quickly turned away, trying to focus on the storm outside. The wind howled again, and the tent shook slightly. The power of nature was terrifying when it was right on top of them. For a moment, Ryan thought he could feel the cold creeping inside, despite their best efforts to seal the tent. He shivered and rubbed his hands together. Vera seemed unaffected, her eyes fixed on the small heater again. She was waiting for the storm to pass. Ryan, on the other hand, was impatient. He hated waiting. We should talk, Ryan said, trying to break the silence again. We don't know each other very well. Vera tilted her head slightly, her gaze softening. What do you want to know? Ryan thought for a moment, unsure where to start. I don't know. Just, why are you here? On this mission? I mean, why do you want to help us? Vera's expression remained unchanged. Zintarans believe in sharing knowledge. We are a peaceful species. We've been reaching out to other worlds, offering help and learning from them. It's our way. Ryan nodded, though he didn't entirely understand. The Zintarans were an ancient civilization, one that had traveled across the galaxy long before humans had learned to navigate space. But despite their advanced technology, they remained a mystery to him. "Why did you join this mission, then?" Ryan asked. "It's not exactly the safest job in the world." Vera gave him a small, almost amused smile. "I'm good at surviving," she said simply. Ryan snorted. "Well, I can see that." They both chuckled softly, and for a brief moment, the tension between them seemed to ease. Ryan's gaze wandered to the tent flap once more. The storm was still raging outside, but for the first time since the blizzard had started, he felt a little less anxious. As they sat there in the small tent, huddled together for warmth, Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. Something about Vera's presence had made the situation feel different. He wasn't sure what it was yet, but the feeling lingered. There was something about this moment that was more than just survival. They were stuck on a frozen world, facing the dangers of the storm together. And somehow Ryan knew that this experience would change everything. He just didn't know how yet. Ryan awoke to the sound of the wind howling outside the tent. It had been hours since they had settled in, but the storm showed no signs of stopping. He could still feel the cold pressing against the thin walls of their shelter. It was a bitter reminder that they were stranded, alone on this freezing planet. He rubbed his eyes and sat up slowly. The dim light from the small heater was the only warmth in the tent. Vera was already awake, sitting cross-legged near the heater, her eyes closed in deep concentration. She looked peaceful, almost as if she had no care in the world. Ryan envied that. Stretching his arms, Ryan decided to break the silence.
Ow.
"Long do you think the storm will last?" he asked, his voice still rough from sleep. Vera opened her eyes and glanced at him. "A few more hours, maybe. It will pass eventually." "The planet's storms are unpredictable." Ryan nodded, though. Doubt still lingered in his mind. A part of him wasn't sure they would make it through, but he wasn't about to voice that fear. He didn't want to worry Vera, who seemed so calm and collected. Her confidence was both reassuring and unsettling. He pulled his jacket tighter around himself, feeling the cold creep into his bones again. There had to be something they could do to keep warm? But as he sat there, he noticed something strange. Vera's eyes were no longer focused on the heater. Instead, they were staring at him intensely, almost like she was studying him. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. "What's the matter?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. Vera blinked and shook her head, looking away quickly. "Nothing," she said, but her voice sounded different, as if she was hiding something. Just ... I felt something." "What?" "Do you mean felt something?" Ryan asked. His curiosity piqued. Vera hesitated. "It's hard to explain. It's like a pull, a connection I can't ignore. When we are in close proximity, She paused again, her brow furrowing, as if trying to find the right words. "I've never felt it before. Not like this." Ryan's confusion grew. "A pull? What kind of pull?" Vera's gaze met his again, and this time, she didn't look away. There was something different in her eyes, a quiet intensity that Ryan hadn't seen before. "It's the bond," she said softly. "The bond between our species. It's something that happens when two beings from different worlds experience something life-threatening together." Ryan felt his heart skip a beat. "A bond? What are you talking about?" Vera looked down at her hands as if gathering her thoughts. "When a Zintaran and a human share a near-death experience, a bond is formed. We become connected in ways that go beyond simple survival. The connection isn't just emotional, it's physical too. I didn't realize it would happen so quickly. But now that it has, it's stronger than I expected." Ryan's mind raced as he tried to process what she was saying. A bond between him and her? He didn't know what to make of it. He had been through tough situations before, but he had never heard anything like this. It sounded like something out of a science fiction novel I don't understand, he said, shaking his head. "How can a bond like that form just because we're stuck in a tent during a storm?" "That doesn't make sense." Vera gave him a small smile, her expression softening. "It's not about the storm. The storm is just the trigger." The bond forms when two beings share a moment of survival. It's deeper than just sharing space or time together. It's a connection that happens when you are exposed to danger, and your survival depends on each other. Ryan felt a strange sensation in his chest, as if something deep inside him was reacting to her words. He had never believed in such things. He was a scientist, after all, and science didn't deal with bonds like this. But there was something about the way Vera spoke, the way she looked at him, that made him feel uneasy, and yet strangely comforted. "So you're saying we connected now?" Ryan asked, his voice almost a whisper. Vera nodded, though she seemed unsure of herself. "Yes, the bond is already forming. Can't be undone. And it will only grow stronger the longer we're together." Ryan opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. This was all too much to take in. How could something like this be real? How could a bond between two completely different species form just like that? "I don't know if I can handle this," Ryan admitted, finally finding his voice. I don't even know you, Vera. How can this bond be real if we barely even talk to each other?" Vera's eyes softened. "I understand." Overwhelming. But the bond isn't something you can control. It's something that happens naturally. It's not about knowing each other. It's about survival. It's about being there for one another when it matters the most. Ryan sat back, staring at her in silence. His mind was still reeling, but something about her words made him pause. He'd always believed in relying on himself and taking care of his own survival. But now, here was someone telling him that survival was no longer just about himself. Silence between them stretched on for what felt like hours. Ryan wasn't sure how to react to what Vera had said. It sounded impossible, but part of him felt a strange pull to her, something he couldn't explain. He tried to shake it off, but it lingered in the back of his mind. Vera was watching him closely, her expression calm but guarded. "We don't have to talk about this if you're not ready," she said gently, "but it's something you need to understand. The bond is real. Whether we want it or not, it's already a part of us." Ryan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her words settle in his chest. He didn't know what to think. One thing was clear: things were changing between them, and there was no turning back now. The next few hours passed slowly, the storm outside still fierce and unrelenting. Ryan and Vera sat together in the small tent, the wind howling against the walls as if the planet itself were trying to tear them apart. Despite the cold and the danger they faced, a strange tension filled the air between them. Ryan couldn't stop thinking about what Vera had told him about the bond between their species. It didn't seem possible, but a part of him couldn't shake the feeling that something was changing. Vera, on the other hand, seemed more composed than ever. She sat with her arms crossed, her eyes fixed on the small heater, though her thoughts appeared to be elsewhere. She hadn't said much since their conversation earlier. But Ryan could sense that she was waiting for him to ask more questions. "I don't get it," Ryan finally said, breaking the silence. His voice was quieter than usual, as if he were afraid of what he might hear next. "How could this bond be real? You said it happens when we share a life-threatening experience, right? But what if this is all just some kind of misunderstanding? What if we're just stuck here because of the storm?" Vera's eyes met his, calm but filled with something deeper, something Ryan couldn't quite understand. Before speaking, her voice steady. "It's not a misunderstanding. The bond is real. It's stronger than just surviving a storm." Ryan's heart raced, but he forced himself to stay calm. "What do you mean? Stronger than surviving a storm? This doesn't make sense." Vera's gaze softened, and she leaned forward slightly. "You need to understand, Ryan. The bond isn't just about physical survival. It's about our connection to each other, something that goes beyond what you can see or touch. It's ancient, a part of our cultures. I didn't want to tell you because I wasn't sure if you'd understand. But now, it's happening, and I can't hide it from you anymore." Ryan felt his mind spinning. "So you're saying this isn't just some kind of chemical reaction or something? You're saying we're connected in a way I can't even explain?" Vera nodded slowly. "Exactly. It's not something that can be explained easily. But it's a bond that exists between certain species. A bond formed when two beings from different worlds experience life and death together. It doesn't happen with just anyone, and when it does, it's undeniable. Ryan stared at her, struggling to process what she was saying. But why me? Why now? We've only known each other for a short time. Vera's expression grew serious. I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but I've felt it. The connection. It's already there. It's not just in my mind, it's in my body too. Ryan's pulse quickened as he absorbed her words. Something about the way she spoke, the way her eyes locked onto his, made him feel like there was no turning back. This doesn't sound like something I can just ignore. You can't ignore it, Vera said quietly. You're already a part of it, whether you like it or not. The bond is forming between us. The more time we spend together, the stronger it will get. Ryan leaned back against the cold fabric of the tent, trying to clear his head. The storm outside seemed to echo his confusion, its fury growing stronger as if mirroring the chaos in his mind. So what happens now? Is this some sort of ... permanent thing? Vera didn't answer immediately. She took a moment, her gaze drifting to the tent flap, as though considering her words carefully. For Zintarans, the bond is lifelong. It's not something that can be undone. It creates a deeper connection between us. We're no longer just strangers. We're linked in a way that goes beyond our minds. Ryan swallowed hard. Lifelong? You're telling me that I'm connected to you forever now? Vera nodded, though she didn't look as certain as before. Yes, the bond doesn't go away. It changes you both physically and emotionally. It's a part of us. Once it's formed, it cannot be undone. Ryan couldn't believe what he was hearing. His mind raced through the possibilities. He wasn't sure what he thought of Vera or this mysterious bond between them. But one thing was clear. There was no escaping it now. They were connected. In a way that defied everything he had ever known. He stood up abruptly, pacing the small space of the tent. This is insane. I've never heard of anything like this before. How do I even deal with this? Vera remained calm, her eyes following him as he moved. I understand this is hard for you to accept. It's hard for me too. But the bond doesn't change who we are. It just means we are connected in a way that we weren't before. We share something now, something that's difficult to explain, but it's real. Ryan stopped pacing and turned to face her. His heart was still pounding, but there was a new clarity in his eyes. I'm not sure I believe it all. Yeah, but I can't ignore how things have changed between us either. Vera gave him a small, understanding smile. You don't have to believe it all at once. But it's happening, Ryan. It's happening whether we like it or not. Ryan's mind was still spinning, but he knew she was right. He didn't know how to handle the bond, and he didn't know how it would affect him in the long run. But one thing was clear. This was no ordinary storm. It had brought them together in a way neither of them had expected. The silence between them stretched on. But this time, it wasn't uncomfortable. It was different, filled with the weight of the truth they had both been avoiding. We'll figure this out, Ryan said finally, his voice quieter now. Together. Vera's smile grew, and for the first time, Ryan saw the uncertainty fade. From her eyes, yes, together. And in that moment, despite the storm outside, despite the mystery of the bond between them, Ryan felt a small spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they could make it through this. Whatever this was, the storm raged outside the tent, its howls echoing in the icy wilderness of Zintarnine. But inside, there was a different kind of storm building between Ryan and Vera. Despite the cold, despite the dangers they faced, there was an undeniable tension between them. Tension that had only grown stronger since their conversation about the bond. Ryan sat on the edge of the small cot, staring at the tent walls, as if hoping they would offer some answers. His mind was still reeling from the things Vera had told him. The idea that they were now connected, that this bond between them couldn't be undone, seemed impossible. Yet every time he looked at her, he felt a strange pull, something beyond his control. It was like the bond was there, even if he didn't fully understand it yet. Vera sat across from him, her posture relaxed, but her eyes betraying the thoughts racing through her mind. She hadn't said much since their talk, but Ryan could sense. She was just as uncertain about the bond as he was. For someone who had always seemed so composed, Vera now seemed unsure, vulnerable in a way that was unfamiliar to Ryan. I don't know how to handle this, Ryan said suddenly, breaking the silence. His voice was low, barely audible over the wind outside. I don't know how to be whatever it is we are now. Vera looked up at him, her expression softening. I understand, she said quietly. It's not easy. But we don't have a choice. The bond is there, and we have to accept it. If we try to fight it, it will only make things harder. Ryan ran a hand through his hair, frustration building in his chest. I'm not trying to fight it. I just don't know what to do with it. This isn't like anything I've ever experienced before. I don't even know what this bond means. What does it mean for us? For me? For you? Vera hesitated before responding, her voice steady, but filled with an emotion Ryan couldn't quite place. It means we're connected. That's the simplest way to say it. But it's more than just being close. It's deeper. It changes how we see the world, how we feel, how we act. It makes us more than just two people in a tent on a frozen planet. Ryan's heart raced as he listened to her. He could hear the truth in her words, even if he didn't fully understand it yet. There was something in the way she said we're connected that made his stomach tighten. It wasn't just a physical connection, it was something deeper. Something that went beyond logic, beyond reason. I don't know if I'm ready for that, Ryan admitted. His voice was barely above a whisper, but it was filled with raw honesty. I've always been alone. I've always relied on myself. And now, I don't know if I can rely on someone else. Vera's eyes softened, and she slowly moved closer to him. You don't have to do this alone, she said gently. You don't have to rely on just yourself anymore. We're in this together now, whether you like it or not. But that doesn't mean you have to lose yourself. You can still be you. I'm not asking you to change. Ryan looked at her, his breath catching in his throat. There was something in her eyes, something that made him believe her. For the first time since they had met, Ryan felt the weight of the bond between them. It wasn't just an abstract idea anymore. It was real, and it wasn't something that could be ignored. You make it sound so simple, Ryan said, a small smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. But it's not, is it? No, it's not simple, Vera replied, her voice low. But nothing worth having ever is. The silence between them was thick, filled with the weight of their shared understanding. Ryan felt his heart slow as he took in Vera's words. There was truth in what she said. He had always prided himself on being self-sufficient, on not needing anyone. But now, here he was, on an alien world, connected to someone he had barely known, facing an uncertain future. For the first time, he didn't feel so alone. The wind outside picked up again, the sound of it shaking the tent as if it were trying to break through. But inside, there was a stillness that had settled between them. Ryan realized with a start that the storm outside wasn't the only thing that was fierce. The storm inside him, the one that had been building since he first learned about the bond, was just as intense. But it wasn't just fear. There was something else, something he hadn't been ready to admit until now. I'm scared, Ryan said, his voice barely above a whisper. I'm scared of what this means. I'm scared of what I'll have to give up. I'm scared of how it will change everything. Vera looked at him with understanding, her eyes soft and compassionate. It's okay to be scared. I'm scared too. This is new for both of us. But we'll face it together. Whatever happens, we'll figure it out. We don't have to have all the answers right now. Just have to take it one step at a time. Ryan swallowed hard, feeling the weight of her words settle in his chest. For the first time since they had arrived on Zintar 9, he felt a small sense of peace. It wasn't all figured out. He still had questions. He still had doubts. But he wasn't alone anymore. And for now, that was enough. I don't know what the future holds, Ryan said, his voice steady. But I know we'll face it together. Vera smiled, a warmth spreading across her face. That's all we can do. The wind continued to howl outside, but inside the tent, it felt different now. The tension had eased, replaced by a quiet understanding. They were connected. No matter what came next, they would face it together. The next day, the storm began to calm. The howling winds outside grew quieter, and the snow started to settle. It was still cold, but the worst of the storm seemed to have passed. The world outside the tent was covered in a thick blanket of snow. The horizon barely visible through the haze of white, Ryan sat on the edge of the cot, staring out into the endless white landscape. He felt like he should be doing something, anything. But the cold and the uncertainty of their situation held him in place. He couldn't stop thinking about the bond. Despite all that had happened, it still didn't make sense to him. The pull he felt when he was near Vera, the strange connection, was undeniable. Vera had been silent since they woke up. But Ryan could see that she, too, was lost in thought. Her eyes were distant, her expression unreadable. She'd always been calm. But there was something different about her today. It was as if she was waiting for something, waiting for the next step, just as Ryan was. After a long silence, Vera finally spoke. "The storm will pass soon. We need to leave the tent and head back to base." Ryan turned to look at her, surprised. "Already? But we still have no way of knowing if the snow has cleared enough for us to make it." "I know," she said, "but we can't stay here forever. The storm may have cleared, but the cold will still be a problem if we stay in one place for too long. We need to move, even if it's just to find shelter somewhere else." Ryan nodded, still unsure. "And you think we can make it to the base? What if there's more snow? What if the storm comes back?" Vera stood up and moved toward the door of the tent. She paused before answering. "We won't know until we try, but we're running out of time. The longer we wait, the harder it will be to survive." Ryan stood up, his body aching from the long hours of stillness. He didn't want to leave the relative warmth of the tent, but Vera was right. They had to go. If they stayed, they'd risk being trapped again. "I'm not sure I'm ready for it." This Ryan admitted, his voice tinged with uncertainty. "We still don't know what's out there. The unknown is ... terrifying." Vera turned to face him, her eyes steady and calm. "I understand. But you're not alone anymore, Ryan. We face the unknown together, and I believe in you." Her words hit him harder than he expected. For the first time since they had met, Ryan felt a sense of confidence, a sense of purpose. He wasn't sure why Vera believed in him, but he realized that it didn't matter. She was here, and together they would face whatever came next. "All right," Ryan said, his voice firming. "Let's do this." Vera nodded and stepped outside the tent, her figure quickly blending into the white landscape. Ryan followed closely behind, his breath visible in the cold air as he stepped out into the snow. The world was still quiet, but there was an eerie beauty to it. The storm had left behind a frozen, untouched world, and Ryan couldn't help but feel small in the vastness of it all. The snow was deep, but they had prepared for this. They had snowshoes to help them walk across the surface, and though it was slow going, they made steady progress. Vera led the way, her movements sure and confident. Ryan followed, trying to match her pace, though he was still adjusting to the cold and the weight of the snow as they moved forward. The silence between them was comfortable. Ryan could feel the bond growing stronger with each step, and though it still confused him, it was no longer something he felt he had to fight. It was just there, part of him, part of them. He couldn't explain it, but it was real. Hours passed as they trudged through the snow, the base still far off in the distance. Ryan's muscles were starting to ache, and the cold was biting, but he didn't want to stop. Vera hadn't slowed down at all. She was still moving with the same calm determination, like she knew exactly what to do and where to go. Suddenly, Vera stopped. She raised a hand, signaling for Ryan to do the same. He paused, confusion setting in. "What's wrong?" Era didn't answer immediately. She was looking ahead, her eyes scanning the horizon. Then she spoke, her voice low but firm. "We're not alone." Ryan's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean? Are there other people out here?" Vera shook her head. "Not people. Something, ... something dangerous." Before Ryan could ask more, he saw it. A figure moving in the distance, a shadow against the white snow. It was large, too large to be human. It moved with a strange, unnatural grace, its eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Ryan's pulse quickened. He had no idea what it was, but he could feel the danger in the air. The bond between him and Vera flared to life, and he knew, deep down, that they had to act quickly. "We need to move," Vera said urgently. Now, Ryan didn't hesitate. He turned and started running, his legs heavy with fatigue, but his instincts telling him to keep going. Vera was right behind him, moving faster than he thought possible, her alien grace making her a blur against the snow as they ran. I could hear the figure behind them, its footsteps growing louder, closer. It was chasing them. He had no idea what it was or how to fight it. The only thing he knew was that the bond between him and Vera had to be their strength. Together, they would face this, just like they had faced the storm. But as they ran, a thought gnawed at the back of Ryan's mind. Was this the true test of their bond? The thing that would define their connection? Or was it just the beginning of something far more dangerous than either of them could imagine? Ryan's heart pounded in his chest as he ran, his breath coming out in short bursts of mist. The creature behind them was fast too fast. He could hear it gaining on them, its footsteps sharp and rhythmic against the snow. Every instinct in his body screamed to run faster, to escape, but the cold was weighing him down. His legs felt like they were filled with lead, and despite the adrenaline surging through his body, the deep snow made every step feel like a struggle. Vera was ahead. Of him, her movements fluid and effortless, as if she were part of the wind itself. She glanced back at him, her eyes glowing with determination. "Keep moving," she called, her voice cutting through the wind. "Don't stop." Ryan nodded, gritting his teeth. He couldn't stop. Not now, but every part of him was screaming in exhaustion. The creature was getting closer, and it felt like the world was closing in around him. His chest tightened with panic, but he pushed through it. He had to keep up with Vera. They had to survive. The sound of the creature's footsteps grew louder, its breathing harsh and labored. Ryan dared to look over his shoulder for a split second, and what he saw nearly made him stumble. It was huge, much bigger than any animal he had ever seen, its form dark and blurry against the snowstorm. Its eyes burned like twin coals, and its teeth gleamed in the dim light. Ryan's blood ran cold. "Vera," he shouted, desperation creeping into his voice. "What is that thing?" She didn't answer immediately, her face a mask of focus as she glanced around, clearly searching for something. She turned a corner, leading Ryan through a dense cluster of snow-covered trees. "Stay close," she ordered. "We need to lose." Yet Ryan followed her through the trees, trying to ignore the panic threatening to overwhelm him. But no matter how fast they ran, he couldn't shake the feeling that the creature was still right behind them. Waiting to strike, the wind howled. Louder, and Ryan could feel the cold seeping into his bones, making every movement feel heavier. He was tiring, didn't know how much longer he could keep up this pace. And then, just as quickly as it had started, the creature's footsteps stopped. The silence that followed was even more terrifying. Ryan's heart raced. Where did it go? Vera stopped in her tracks, her eyes scanning the surroundings, listening intently. After a moment, she gave a sharp nod, as if confirming something to herself. "It's waiting," she said quietly. "It knows we're tired." Hunting. Ryan's mind raced. So what do we do? Vera's gaze fixed on him, her expression hardening. "We make a stand," she said, her voice unwavering. "I can't fight it alone, but if we work together, we might have a chance." Ryan didn't fully understand what she meant, but he didn't question it. He knew they couldn't keep running forever. If they were going to survive, they needed to face whatever was chasing them. Together, Vera moved toward a large rock formation, her eyes darting around the area. She crouched down beside it, motioning for Ryan to join her. "We'll use this for cover," she explained. "When it comes for us, we'll be ready." Ryan nodded, his hands trembling from the cold. He knew he was no longer just fighting. For his own survival, he was fighting for Vera too. And the bond between them, though still mysterious and confusing, had become something he couldn't ignore. It had changed him, made him realize that he wasn't alone in this. He had someone to fight for now. They crouched behind the rocks, waiting. The sound of the wind was deafening, but all Ryan could hear now was his own breath and the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. His muscles were sore from the run, but he didn't dare move. His eyes never left the snow-covered horizon, waiting for the creature to make its move. Minutes passed, though it felt like hours. And then he saw it. The creature appeared from behind a snowbank, its massive form stepping into the clearing. It was closer now, moving with slow, deliberate steps, as though it knew it had them cornered. Ryan's throat tightened, but he forced himself to stay still. He could feel Vera beside him, her presence calm yet alert, the creature's glowing. Eyes locked onto theirs, and for a moment, Ryan felt a wave of fear wash over him. But then, something inside him clicked. He wasn't just running anymore. He wasn't just trying to survive on his own. He was fighting with someone by his side. Without warning, the creature lunged forward, its jaws snapping shut with terrifying force. Ryan barely had time to react. But Vera was already moving, her body shifting like a shadow, her movements swift and precise, leapt toward the creature, grabbing a jagged rock from the ground and slamming it into the creature's side. The creature howled, staggering back in pain, but it didn't stop. Instead, it turned its attention fully on Vera. Ryan's heart hammered in his chest as he saw Vera struggle against the creature. He couldn't just watch. He had to help. Grabbed another rock and hurled it at the creature, hitting it square. In the face, it roared in fury, but it wasn't enough. The creature was too strong. Then something unexpected happened. The bond between Ryan and Vera flared to life, stronger than ever before. Ryan could feel it in energy, a force flowing through him, urging him forward. It wasn't just physical strength. It was something deeper, something beyond understanding. He could feel Vera's presence in his mind, her thoughts joining with his, guiding him, giving him the strength he needed. Now, Vera shouted. With a newfound determination, Ryan charged at the creature, its muscles working in unison with Vera's movements. Together, they attacked, using the strength of the bond to outmaneuver the creature. Finally, with one powerful strike, Vera drove the rock deep into the creature's side, and it collapsed to the ground, defeated. The silence that followed was deafening. Ryan stood there, panting, his body trembling from exhaustion. Vera was beside him, equally as worn but unshaken. "We did it," Ryan said, his voice barely a whisper. He couldn't believe it. He had survived. Vera gave him a small, tired smile. "Together," she said softly. Ryan nodded, feeling the weight of their victory and the weight of the bond between them. They weren't just survivors. They were partners, bound by something deeper than survival. And for the first time, Ryan felt like he wasn't alone in the universe.